Over 25 million Nigerians currently reside in the diaspora, contributing enormously to the country's economy, and naturally, they would love to exercise their franchise in a country they call home. This has, however, not been the case for various reasons, ranging from infrastructure to other issues such as challenges experienced during elections in the country. Now, these citizens resident abroad have frowned at their inability to vote in local elections, matching actions with words through a bill to change the narratives. But the National Assembly has over time rejected the bill, insisting that the process is expensive and Nigeria is not ready. The Nigerians in the Diaspora Voting Council met in Abuja to dust up the debates for diaspora voting. Their stance is being supported by the Nigeria in Diaspora Commission and citizens resident abroad. The Nigeria Diaspora Voting Council has commissioned the drafting of the amendment bill and presently signed up over 100 legislators to support the bill in both upper and lower houses, that's the Senate and House of Representatives. Now, the question is if Nigeria is ready for diaspora voting and what actions must be in place to make this work. This is our focus on Nigeria Today. Welcome to the program. I am Anne Jibuno. Now, in the studio to discuss Nigeria's diaspora voting is is a former member of the House of Representatives and is also the head technology transfer and innovation at the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission. Join me in welcoming Abdul Rahman Terap. You're welcome to
Thank you very much.
Program.
And good evening, viewers.
Now, elections are challenging enough within Nigeria. Don't you think diaspora voting will be too much trouble for INEC?
Well, let me start by saying I think electoral systems are never perfect anywhere in the world. Even at the local level, we've just experienced what the Democratic Party have just witnessed in Iowa. The imperfections continue, and every time human beings strive to ensure that they get a perfect system. So I think in the case of diaspora as well, I think from the perspective of the Diaspora Commission, and of course, just like you rightfully stated, almost all of the diaspora, there's nothing wrong in giving it a shot. But of course, just like the Speaker said this morning, the Right Honourable Speaker of the House of Representatives, that it should be done, but it should be done right. And I think that is the message.
Okay, do you have accurate data of Nigerians that are resident abroad? Do you?
Yeah, interestingly, I want you to understand that the commission is still at its infancy, but that notwithstanding, I think in about just about 2 weeks ago, the commission alongside with the World Bank was able to come up with some, at least a kind of a data that we can start working on. Currently, the data we have of Nigerians in diaspora is between 14 and 17 million. And you need to understand that the diaspora are also in various categories. We have the first generation, the second generation, and in some cases, third and even older generations. So, but when it comes to the issue of diaspora voting, it doesn't mean that the net is completely thrown for everybody in the diaspora. Just like we are doing it in the country as well. The net is not completely opened. When I say it's not completely open, because we have about 60 to 70 million voters on our register. But you and I know that those who are eligible to vote are actually more than that in the country. Likewise, when it comes to the actual voting process, you find that less than 30 to 40 million actually participate. So it's not a perfect process anywhere. Likewise, taking the diaspora in this situation now into account. And we have a reason why we say so. Because the commission itself and the intent of the current diaspora policy of the country is to ensure that those people who are in the diaspora and who have not forgotten the country and who have in so many ways immensely trying to interact and engage the country in developmental efforts shouldn't be forgotten. They should be given that sense of belonging. They should be given that sense of pride, and then they should also be identified with, so that they come back and continue the process of development. And it is not because it's an isolated case. We have seen it work in various countries. It's already yielding a lot of results in India, in Bangladesh. As a matter of fact, the stories are not that much told, but the case of Israel is completely a diaspora situation, its successes and its current situation. So for that reason, you cannot do away with the diaspora in the current context of the global situation currently. And for that reason, we want them to be part of the process because it gives them that sense of patriotism again, that sense of wanting to be part of the nation building. You want them to build the nation, but they can't determine who their leaders are or how the process is played out. I think it's not a very fair situation. If possible, let us give them that opportunity and let them play along with us.
Now, a bill to recognize the voting rights of Nigerians in the diaspora could not scale through first reading. Do you see the National Assembly changing their minds, the lawmakers changing their minds anytime soon?
Yes, it's interesting because the concept of diaspora itself, nationally, I think for the first time is being given a positive outlook. I say so because previously, if you talk about people in the diaspora, the common thinking is about Obodo Yimbo, people who have left us for their own good and they are not interested in our development. So it's a negative narrative previously before now. But now people can see that they are actually engaging and they have, they are contributors to the national economy. As our remittance figures have shown, for the last 15 years, it's been growing from about 13 billion to 25 billion now in 2019. They've contributed to the nation's economy more than the foreign direct investment that we have in the country, about 7 times of that figure, as a matter of fact, and about 13 times the figure of the national aid that we receive from other countries. So this is to tell you that they are a critical partner in nations' development. And, well, these are the new statistics for most people because they don't understand the extent to which this set or this group of people contribute to our current realities. If they understand where, if that $25 billion is taken out of the economy of Nigeria for a year, how it will be affected, they will now understand why these people are important. What is important is for us to continue to drive the narrative, to drive the awareness process. It's going to continue for most people to understand because the thinking, if you bring about the issue of diaspora voting, people don't look at it from the perspective of the rights of the individual to participate in the political process. People look at it from the perspective of our capacity to handle it, looking at the current challenges we are having.
You don't think that's important?
Yes, but of course, you know, the democracy, first of all, is about the rights of the individuals. First, it's about the right, before it talks about the process. And I think in this very situation also, the right of the individual diasporans needs to be looked at first. And then, of course, it's a country. And a country provides for an enabling environment for these rights to be protected and guaranteed and ensured that people have a participation. So the country's infrastructure should be geared towards that. In any case, is it so difficult as it is always perceived to be? I don't think so.
Now, I know you've mentioned some countries that are already doing this: Ghana, Zimbabwe, in
Morocco,
Africa, there are cases.
One of the most recent and the smallest country is Southern Sudan.
Okay.
And it's in every respect, we are better than them. So, and then of course, there are also countries that are bigger than us, more in population, richer than us, and are also involved in it.
But the National Assembly didn't just throw it away. It said there must be some arrangement in place. So what are these arrangements?
Now this brings us to the statement that the Honorable Speaker made this morning, that we have to do it right. But to me, the critical element in this situation is the awareness. Is to create the awareness even amongst our legislators, amongst our elites, amongst our populace, that it is about giving them that sense of belonging. Because, okay, now let me just give you a simple example. We are, as I've told you, we are currently developing data. And of course, the average diasporan from Nigerian descent, if you meet him and you tell him, we are developing data, let's have your data, he says, of what benefit? You guys don't even allow me to vote. You understand what I'm saying? And whatever. Why are we getting the data? Why do we want diaspora engaged in our system in the first place? I think that's a critical factor that we need to understand also. Because we need the diaspora to be part of our economic development, because as it is now, without any incentive, without anybody going out to market, without anybody requesting, these people are putting in $25 billion into our economy annually. And you don't need to be told that the moment you incentivize the process, you create enabling environment, you create that sense of patriotism in them. And I'm telling you, surely these people can contribute double or 3 times that amount into the economy. Now, as we speak now, it's getting to about 6.7% of our GDP. That $25 billion alone. If you multiply that by 2 or 3 times, you're talking about maybe it will get to about 10 or 15% of our GDP. And that contributes because, why? It's going to develop the purchasing power of individuals in the country. And individuals can be able to go out and buy things in the market. When people can go out and buy things in the market without necessarily waiting for either salaries or money from the government, it means the economy is going to be buoyant. It means people can be able to buy and sell. It means businesses can thrive.
So is it a case of if the diaspora will be allowed to vote, or when?
I think it's a matter of when. Okay. The idea of if, I think it shouldn't even be an issue. Like I said, every country, I was with not long ago, we were with the French ambassador, and he was telling us how important it is for them to ensure that diaspora voting was possible. But as developed as French is, they didn't start it at once. These elections are done at some various small caucuses at small levels, or in some very select countries at the beginning, before it's now spreads to other countries of the world. So it's not an immediate process. But what we are saying is that let it start, because if we start, it's going to ginger the process. As a matter of fact, I'm almost saying that Nigeria will be surprised at the fast rate at which it's going to be, one, accepted, appreciated, and even supported.
All right. This is Nigeria today, and we're looking at Nigeria's diaspora voting. We'll take a break now to listen to what Nigerians are saying about this issue.
Why not? If the system is there and it permits them, why not? They should vote.
Because they are citizens, they are part of us. So they need to vote, because all of us are one.
Because they are Nigerians, if they don't vote, they are disenfranchised. And their vote will be very, very genuine because of the type of environment they are living in.
No.
Why?
And they are not in Nigeria. If they want to vote, let them come and vote here now. That's just the reason.
If we have everything all right in Nigeria, there's nothing bad if they can vote. But a situation where we here in Nigeria, we don't even have it right, yes. We don't even have everybody in Nigeria voting, yes. So I think we should finish with people here first before we can extend to the people in diaspora.
Thanks for staying with us. We are taking a look at diaspora voting, and I still have with me the Head Technology Transfer and Innovation, Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abdurrahman Terap. He's also a former member of the House of Representatives. You listen to Nigerians.
Yes.
Can you react?
Yes, of course. You can see that those who have are skeptic about it. The other fellow said, let them finish with us first before they get to them. Like I keep saying, is that idea of a perfect system. It doesn't exist. And that idea of completely satisfying or perfecting the system on ground before now getting on them, I don't think it's a fair one. Your system exists, and implementing the diaspora voting system may not in so many ways affect what you're doing locally. It's only going to add to it. And in any case, you see, the voting is supposed to be in processes, it's in stages. Now, like I was telling you about the French experience, they started with the presidential system only for those in the diaspora. And even when they started with the presidential system, it was only in some few countries that you can be able to vote. Eventually, they expanded or they spread the process to many other countries. And now, including in Nigeria, if you are a French citizen, you can be able to vote. And then the voting points, you have to be specifically either in an embassy or in a consulate for you to be able to exercise that right. And then also people are looking at, okay, what data? We don't need to get to that yet. Because first and foremost, you have to, that was the reason why I started with the idea of what is the diaspora? And that class of diaspora that is going to vote. It's not every class of diaspora that is eligible to vote.
So who is eligible?
Yes, of course, those who are identified by the country. First of all, there are diasporans who are still purely Nigerian citizens. The idea of the diaspora also needs to be defined. The concept of a diaspora is a Nigerian citizen or a Nigerian who is living anywhere outside the country legally, and the person has stayed for over a year and is working and has a residential address in that country. Now it starts with that. So now the first one are the Nigerians who have only Nigerian valid passports. Now automatically, now let me give you a simple example. What about the consulate staffs and the high commission staffs and the embassy staffs across the world? Voting takes place usually when they are at their duty post and they are not given the opportunity to exercise their right. You can start with that. They are diasporans as it stands.
But these countries where you've mentioned these countries that have allowed this diaspora voting, what do they have on ground that we need to address? What factors?
If you understand the common Nigerian,
so this process is not hijacked by politicians.
No. Excuse me. That is now. You see, the issue is that are we talking about an established system or are we talking about system abuse?
Because it's probably too easy to abuse.
The issue is, you see, sincerely speaking, truth be told, if we are really serious, we know that the way we can play with things probably locally. Let me give you a simple example. Is the Nigerian that you know very well that, quote and unquote, you can consider him to misbehave. But usually when sometimes, curiously enough, when they land in a foreign country, you immediately see them kind of jerking up, changing their attitudes completely, living according to the dictates of where they are. And also having that sense of pride in what they do. So that is one. And then secondly, what the commission itself, and of course the current Nigerian diaspora policy, is out to address that negative perspective about Nigerians who are outside the country are largely, quote unquote, seen to be doing wrong things and not on the right path. As a matter of fact, 95, 96, sometimes some statistics could have it up to 98% of Nigerians who are living outside the country are very hardworking people, diligent, and law-abiding citizens of any country they find themselves in. So we have to take it for granted, first of all, that there is a system check, even from the current statistics that we have about the attitudes of Nigerians and how they behave outside the country. That is one. And secondly, and most importantly, is that the community is small. The voting community itself is usually not large in most places where you're going to find. And so it means the room for people to manipulate is less. And then thirdly, there are best practices which we have to adopt, because if we say we are going to now exercise diaspora voting, we also have to be subjected to the rules and regulations of the various countries in which we are playing this with. And they have their ways of doing things. And largely, we'll have to be forced to be subjected to such rules and regulations. Oh. So you can see that there are many checks actually than the one probably is going to be done in a village somewhere in Nigeria, where of course you don't have access to a lot of things that probably that can immediately transmit the activities in a particular polling unit or voting area.
Now, the Constitution is being reviewed by the National Assembly. What are you doing to convince them to,
this currently is part of it. We are looking at engaging the members of the National Assembly because I think currently we are taking a very appreciable level of engaging. Of course, those who have anything to do with the diaspora in both chambers, I believe very much they are on our side. And even those in the electoral committees are understanding the reason why there is the need to give this a thought. And nobody is saying, like we keep saying, it's a one-time process. It has to be taken very, very gradually. We can start with just a country or two with particular stages of elections. You understand what I'm saying? But just like you asked earlier, what is even most important is the mechanism that is going to be put in place. It's not really a difficult one, because it's just to create, just like INEC every time creates additional constituencies, wards, voting, polling units, and the rest. It's just going to allocate a polling station for that, but for also particular elections. These are the things that are not currently contained in the Electoral Act and in the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the arguments are still on both sides. Some people believe that the Constitution needs to be amended for that to take place. Some people believe it's only the Electoral Act you need to look at and then rejig it so that it can accommodate diaspora voting.
Now, what's the role of the Nigeria in the Diaspora Voting Council, and how are you working with that?
Again, very interesting.
Actualize your
You can
vision.
see the program that was done today by the Diaspora Voting Council. This is completely a diaspora initiative. For them to the extent to take it to this level and ensure that there are participants at all, at various sectors of, decision-making stages, the National Assembly, the executives, and of course, even the judiciary. And then, of course, a lot of NGOs and, other organizations. So the most important thing here is that they are playing their role. And I think that's a very, very commendable and positive role, because they are, with such narratives and such awareness taking place, because at the level of the commission, probably not much is going to be done on a regular basis. But when it is now complemented by such acts of diaspora initiatives, now the narrative is going to be played over and over again, and I believe the awareness is going to be much higher. But the most important thing is to remove the negativity that people think about in it, because I don't even think people see it. That negativity is not seen, it's only a thought.
All right.
So it's just that thought that needs to be changed.
I wish you success in actualizing this vision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdurrahman Terab, Head Technology Transfer and Innovation at the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Today.
Thank you for having me.
And also thank you for always keeping this date with us. To join us again tomorrow. But remember, you can watch this and other episodes of this program on our YouTube address, www.youtube.com/NTNews24hub. Thanks for staying with us.